As we walk in the joint.
Okay, we just had a minor thing happen there, so we fixed it. Hopefully that's better now.
I think what it was, there was certain controls on my end echoing back at me, left,
Could have
right, and
been,
center.
because this is all dedicated sound stuff. The speakers are speakers, and I had some problems with that on my last system because it was an all-in-one. But
Yeah.
I got a dedicated mic this time. I got a dedicated speakers, and the webcam is all separate. So,
Well, I just hope that Laurie gets back in before we have to wrap up. I've got a rend to make in the next few hours. My time here, I've got to do things. But I hope what we spoke about is opening up a lot of eyes, because it's there. It's there for the public's knowledge to see. We know the stories. We've seen the documentaries. We've seen so many conspiracy theories out there. It's not a conspiracy theory. If something doesn't add up, people are questioning it. Whether it's 9/11, the assassination of JFK. If something is not right or doesn't quite fit, we want to ask questions. They've already given us answers, but it doesn't add up. If something's out of place, we keep asking questions. And if the files come out, will it do any good? To some, yes. To some, no. If you look at the witnesses of the JFK assassination, most of them are no longer alive because they were killed by the Secret Service.
right.
And I wouldn't be surprised some of the victims on witnesses of the 9/11 had been killed by the FBI, well, not the FBI, but the Secret Service agencies in America as well.
Well, yeah, a lot of freaking people, have been killed by the Clintons.
Yeah.
Maybe not directly, but it's the same thing as we were speaking about Charlie Manson yesterday. You don't have to perpetrate the crime to be the perpetrator of the crime.
Exactly. You don't have to be in a specific group or religion to commit a crime. If you have a mentality of to hurt or harm people, you would do it.
Right.
And a lot of people do get off slightly on the charges because they go in to the courtroom with the philosophy that they're mentally insane, and they get a lighter sentence. They plead not guilty, even though they commit the crime, but they plead not guilty under the act of mentally insane, so
right.
they can get themselves a lighter sentence.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, most people are mentally insane to commit a crime like that. But I'm not saying it's a mental illness. I'm not saying it. If you are
it doesn't necessarily have to be a mental illness. You could just be stupid. Yeah. And that's a mental problem. It is. Stupidity is a mental problem.
I say some of the government's got a mental health issues.
Oh, I would say many of them do.
Exactly. Because they're always feeding their ego. They want to create wars with people. They want to do radical things. But here's the thing. I've said it before. I don't believe Donald Trump is a God gift to people. But if he stands firm on the principles of God, he can do wonders.
You don't have to be God to do good things. You
No.
know? You don't.
Well, here's the thing. You can do so much good things in life and you still won't get to heaven.
Right. Right. It's how you are in your heart. But
yeah,
I see, you know, from the very beginning, all I saw was Donald Trump trying to be the best person that he could be.
Oh yeah, and he keep. I go with this philosophy. You got to put runs on the board, so to speak. He's putting a lot of numbers on the board at the moment, and he's only been sworn in on Friday, this past Friday, and he's already putting runs on the board.
Yeah.
Now, the elite are furious, and it comes back to what we're talking about. Not only are the elite and the leftists are in an outrage and protesting with women's rights, gay sex marriage, or that. With what we said about that, Donald Trump can do two things this year: reinvestigate 9/11 and declassify the 3,000 files of JFK assassination. Those two alone are very close to the elite. Very, very close. But here's the thing. The Bush family were the Republicans. He's in the Republican Party. Would they persuade him not to choose to do what he wants to do? He has the power. He has the control. He is the head of the country.
But he's not really, truly, I don't think, a Republican. He's not political. He doesn't care about politics. That's the whole thing. That's what scares the establishment so much, is that Donald Trump is not a politician. That's what scares them, because they have no sway over him.
But he does know a lot about 9/11. He built towers.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck that George Bush was a Republican. The only reason that he ran under the Republican Party was because he had to choose a side.
Yeah. Because, like we said last night,
and because his ideals more closely resemble the republic than they do the democracy.
Exactly. And here, this is what we said last night about the two major parties. If he would have went to the independent, he probably wouldn't get in because it's a minority party. But if they had the same control as the two major parties, he might have won as an independent. He might have won as another party. I mean, like here in Australia, in our Senate, we've got like 30 different parties, but they only hold like 2 to 5% of the majority. So they're a minority party. But those parties, like I said, they swing to either the left or the right in the majority. It channels through all the channels. So if you vote for a minority party, that vote can swing to the left or the right here in Australia, in the Senate.
Right.
And those two major parties do rely on those votes. So if it's a close call, they rely on the minority to get them over the line.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
I mean, there's no doubt about it.
But I truly believe what we just spoke about it's exciting, but the question is, will he do it? Will he release? Will he make that decision?
I think he will. I honestly think he will. I don't think for a minute that he's going to let them tell him what to do.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, you know.
But
what
does the audience think about it? If anyone's commented in the chat room?
Yeah, he says he's one of our chatters, Danny. He says I don't mind giving Trump a chance. However, I still think history repeats itself, and 4 presidents have been assassinated over the years.
Well, remember, President Reagan almost got assassinated. There was an attempt on him.
Right.
Look at Robert
And he was
Kennedy.
part of the New World Order.
Yep. And he was the vice president at the time.
Right.
It all blends into the Bushes. You know, I think when Robert Kennedy got assassinated, Bush Senior was the head of the CIA at the time.
Yes, he was. Yep. And again, it was a Kennedy. So, you know, you have to look at those things and decipher for yourself what you may think. As for me, you know, I think the Kennedys were a threat to the Bushes.
That's why I think Trump is a threat to the Bushes right now.
Yes, absolutely. I think he is too.
And not just to the Bushes, to the Clintons, and to anyone.
To anyone that's corrupt within the government.
Yep. And that's why the elite and the leftists and the libtards are in such an outrage. One, because Trump is not a political person, but two, he knows so much. He knows a lot about 9/11. He built buildings for his corporation. He knows what goes into the structure. He knows that a building cannot just fall like it did in 9/11.
Absolutely. I mean,
he saw the building
to know that 110-story building couldn't just fall down in a heap.
In free fall.
Yeah. Have you ever been to New York?
No, I haven't been to the east side yet.
I walked across the U.S. and I went to New York. I went to New York City, and I saw where the towers used to stand. And let me tell you, that is a huge area. Huge. Absolutely awe-inspiring. Huge. And there's no way in the world, the way the towers were built, that they would have even fell, you know, in the worst circumstances ever. They were built to withstand earthquakes and high winds and airplanes because they were so tall. So, I mean, there was no possibility of that ever happening.
And then you just look at World Trade 7 building, the World Trade 7.
Yeah,
World
Trade Center 7.
Sorry, yep.
And
that went down in freefall.
There was no anything near it. There was no plane. There was no fire. There was anything. And it just fucking fell down.
Yep.
Bullshit.
I truly believe a lot of people farted in that building and it just went down. No, I'm only joking. I'm joking.
You know what was in that building?
Yeah.
A whole bunch of secret documents.
Yep. And that's where the CIA was there. That's where...
Yes, that's where the CIA housing was. Building 7.
So basically...
They burned up the evidence.
Yep. So you put all this in perspective. The CIA was involved with the JFK assassination. The CIA was involved with the Robert Kennedy assassination. The CIA was also involved with the 9/11.
Absolutely.
And Trump was just in the CIA building not long ago, like 2 days ago, my time.
Right.
And he's making amends with them. He likes them for some reason.
Well,
so that means
maybe they told him they were going to kill him.
Well, maybe they scared and said, well, we've got to freaking be careful because one, our job's on the line, and two, he can fire us.
Right.
If we don't pull our heads in, he's going to fire us. And it's been known he had fired a lot of people for not pulling their weight.
And yeah, and the CIA hasn't.
So he's going to shake the foundation, probably remodel the CIA, so to speak. He still wants the CIA. And hopefully, what we say, reopen the investigation for 9/11 and open up the file for the public with the JFK assassination, the one that's been fully disclosed to the public.
Right, including the autopsy report.
Oh yeah, as we know, there were two autopsy report. One of them was
one of them was fake, and the other one was held back.
And that one was the one they got on with the Warren Commission. With the Warren Commission people were all Scrooges.
Right.
They're all Scrooges. And I think the surgeon was whoever was doing the autopsies was under threat because he's already made one legit and called out the magic bullet theory a complete fraud.
Complete lie.
But then he had to make it out that it existed in the second autopsy report. And also, the crime scene. As we know, JFK was assassinated in a vehicle. That is the crime scene. No fingerprints was taken. They actually moved. LBJ basically moved the crime scene to another state to get it refurbished, remodeled, and no one took any not fingerprints, but DNA evidence, anything like that. His blood was still in the car. But LBJ wanted to get rid of it, cover it up, because there was bullet showing on.
There were several bullets
everywhere.
in that car.
Yeah. Apparently, there was about 7 shots to the vehicle.
Yeah.
One on and that didn't come through the Warren Commission.
Several bullets in the car. One of them actually struck. Come on. One of them actually struck the door.
So I just hope it does all come out in the wash eventually. Like the old saying goes, Damien, if it won't come out in the rinse, it will come out in the wash.
Right.
Because Donald Trump wants to drain a swamp. Well, he's got to do both. He's got to rinse it and he's got to wash it. You know, because what won't come out in the rinse will come out in the wash.
Those two things are very important for him to do.
I mean, that's what we talked about last night. If we leave the politics side of things out of it, I mean, 9/11 and JFK can be political in itself, but if we look away from the political side, it's an investigation. It's a criminal investigation. There's nothing political about that. But the people behind the scenes have made it political. You can't talk about it. You can't ask questions about it because it's a political thing. It's more of a political thing than a criminal thing. It's a criminal act. Both of them are criminal.
It was absolutely criminal. But that's besides the point. The whole point of the matter is that it was used for political gain.
Exactly. And it's always what's in it for them.
Used to start and fund 2 huge wars in which thousands and thousands of our people have died. Not to mention the tens of thousands of people on the other side that have died.
And it's always been what's in it for them as well. I can understand sometimes you've got to not. I can understand when an investigation happens, you can't really say too much about it. I know the public want to talk about it, want to ask questions about it, they want information. But if we keep seeing all the footage from 9/11 to JFK assassination to anything, you know, to Waco, to Columbine High School massacre shooting, to Sandy Hook, if we keep looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, and if things doesn't add up, and we ask a question about it, we get shut down. We probably get flagged on YouTube. We probably get reported. Who cares? But the thing is,
at least we question it.
yeah,
That's the whole gist of it right there. At least we question the narrative. And that's our job as the people. Our job as the people is to keep the government in line.
do you
They
believe?
work for us. We don't work for them.
Do you think the JFK assassination was a false flag?
It could have been. It very well could have been. Because
Well,
right after that, we went to Vietnam. And
that's what I was about to say.
highly opposed to the Vietnam War also.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say, because what led was Vietnam. But Vietnam had nothing to do. Vietnam had nothing to do with the JFK assassination. But
it had nothing. Vietnam had nothing to do with us.
exactly.
Who do we really think we are? Going. Look, these countries should defend themselves.
Yep.
It's not our job to go defend you and spend billions of dollars of taxpayer money to do it.
Mm-hmm. And Australia went to Vietnam with you guys, and we should never have went to Vietnam. It had nothing to do with us.
No, it had nothing to do with us. It had to do with North Korea and South Korea. Look, and the whole point of the matter is, if you want a war between yourselves, fucking do it, but don't drag us into it.
Exactly. It was only just recently that the Vietnam veterans was here in Australia was recognised for fighting in Vietnam. They couldn't march. We have what we call Anzac Day to remember the victims, soldiers that served our country, both from Australia and New Zealand. That's what the Anzac stand for. Anzac, for some people, for those who don't know what it stands for, Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. That's Anzac. And the Vietnam veterans on both sides of New Zealand and Australia weren't even recognised till about 5-7 years ago. They couldn't march on Anzac Day.
Wow. They
have a Vietnam Veteran Motorcycle Club. It's not an outlaw motorcycle gang, but they've been looked at being an outlaw motorcycle gang because they wear a leather jacket vest like a bikie.
Sure.
All it says, what it is, it's a skull with the hat of a soldier on the back of the vest, and it's got Vietnam veterans.
Yeah, there's a club here called the CVA, the Combat Veterans Association. Yep. And some of them are bikers, some of them belong to other clubs. There's the Patriot Guard Riders, which is made of veterans and non-veterans alike. There are I'm sure there's a Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club of some kind, or I know there's veterans motorcycle clubs. So and it took many years for them to be recognized too. And some of them still are not recognized because they went to combat zones that were not within our area, like Laos and Cambodia. They were dropped off in the middle of a fucking Cambodian forest, and and so that's not recognized. If they were hurt in Cambodia, we were never there, so we're not taking care of your ass.
That's the same with the Pacific War as well. Not just the Korean War, but the Pacific War. When we went to Papua New Guinea for Kokoda and Pacific War, we were fighting the Japs. And you guys was based here in Australia too. You guys was not only the Air Force but the Navy was based here in Australia around the time of the Korean War and the Pacific War.
Yep.
The Japanese bombed Darwin, which is the top of Australia. One of them managed to go. One of the Japanese submarines managed to go to the Sydney Harbour. So.
Yeah, we fought alongside Australia for a long time.
Many people wanted to make a threat to to bomb or do Australia, but we're so far away from everyone. We don't care. We just laugh at you going, come on, bring it. They don't want to come here. We're too far away. You know?
Yeah, that's a fact.
You know, we're too far away from it. We don't care. You're up there, we're down here. You know, we blow ourselves up on the Barbies, you know. So, yeah. But, Damien, I've got to get going, man. I've got really many things to do in the next few hours.
Oh, that's fine. Lori was supposed to join us here in a few minutes, so.
Is she coming in?
Yeah, she said she'd be home in 10.
All right, I'll hold out. I'll just let my partner know. I want her to talk. I think I talk too much.
Yeah, I know. I did 32 hours straight on my show one time. and people were like, "Are you ever gonna sleep?" I'm like, "I don't know. Maybe not." There was a lot going on then. And so I just think, I think some of these problems that have been thrown under the rug for a long time just need to be addressed. And I think that we as a people need to demand the truth. And
even Agenda 21, that should be thrown out.
Oh yeah,
Agenda 21. We know that Donald Trump stopping the geoengineering with the chemtrails and all that. That's good. The skies are cleaner over there now, so it's doing some great things. So let's hope Agenda 21. Let's him investigate that with the Clinton Foundation. We all know that the Clintons were selling off their share to Russia, and they blame Russia for hacking into their email provider. So.
Right. Well, and you mentioned Agenda 21. See, the whole problem with Agenda 21 is they're so far into it already. They already have contingency plans for cities like my city. My city is next to the coast, and everything comes in on bridges. So all they have to do is take their portable walls, and they already have plans for cities like San Francisco. San Francisco is the same way. There's one way into San Francisco, and otherwise you have to go over, there's bridges. That's it. It's an island basically. So all they have to do is take portable walls that they already have, set them up at key points, and the city is cut off. Done. You're not going anywhere.
Yep.
And that's the same thing where I live. All they have to do is cut off the key points, and you're not going anywhere.
Nope. I think what it mainly comes down to is a lot of people want radical changes quickly. They want to change now, not tomorrow, because tomorrow may never come.
That's right.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of process and a lot of protocol that they've got to go through. With the JFK assassination reports and all that, yeah, it's taken 54 years for it to fully be a thing. I think the patience had worn out on a lot of people, but they've still got a protocol to follow through too, especially Donald Trump. If he wants to make the decision to declassify 3,000 odd files, it's going to take a bit of process to go through. And, when it comes to radical change or radical movements, it can't happen overnight. We all expect, even sometimes I do, I expect radical change to happen quickly, but then I've got to pull myself back and say, oh, there's got to be time, there's got to be patience. But patience does wear off very quickly on certain people.
Right, especially when you've been wanting something for so long, and it's been hidden and out of sight, and after a while people become accepting of things, such as 9/11 or the assassination of JFK. There's a lot of people that still don't believe that story.
I think they picked 9/11 because that was your emergency number. 9/11 is your emergency number. 9/11 was the day of the event, and I think that's what it was. They picked that day because it's an emergency number. They created an emergency. It was an emergency. It went on through, and I think it's still going on. It hasn't ended. 9/11 hasn't ended. It's still going on.
Right.
It might not happen in your back door. It's happening around the world. 9/11.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
All you got to do is just turn on the news, whether it's fake news or real news, and all you hear is tragic here, tragedy there. Guy drive over people here in Australia, mass murder over in France. You hear it all. It's happening. It's happening.
Well, and even the people that they said were involved in it, people were like, I'm still alive. My passport was stolen from me. I'm over here in this other country. I wasn't fucking there. I didn't do that. I'm not dead.
No. And that's why we were talking this yesterday, was about you don't have to be part of any group or any religion. You can be from any country. If you've got a radical thought in your head that you want to hurt or harm people, you can make up any profile you want. You can pick out any name you want. But the thing that doesn't change is your DNA, your fingerprint, your blood.
Your face.
Nothing changes. Your face. Or you can change your face if you want to have surgery.
Yeah, you can have 10. Yeah, you can do that, I guess.
Or both. You want to hurt people? Well, it's like this. Like a combat, competitive sport. You want to achieve something. You want to, no matter what, you want to win that prize. But their philosophy is, especially the radical Islam, is that if they achieve something, they go to heaven, or paradise, I should say, with 53 virgins or whatever. They'll have 53 virgins in paradise and blah, blah, blah. That's their pride. That's their goal. But they will stop at nothing. If they want to kill people, they'll kill people. They'll stop at nothing. And it is a mental illness. We spoke about it. It is a mental illness. Why would you want to kill somebody just because you don't like that person? Or you're not getting your own way? Fair dinkum. We carry on like pork chop when there's only 5 cents left in our bank account. And yet you've got people with Down syndrome that's going to be living like that for the rest of their life, and they're the most happiest person on the planet. Right. And we complain that we don't have 5 cents in our bank account.
I don't care about that nickel.
No.
You know what? I don't care about money. Money is fake.
But I'm using that. I'm using that
about money.
I'm using that example because that is what's happened. That's what happened. I'm not saying I do it. I'm not saying you do it. I'm just using that as an example. There are people that will just complain and bitch and moan just for the smallest things.
Oh yeah.
And yet you've got people starving over in Rwanda and Ethiopia. You've got people with diseases and homeless people, And yet some of these homeless people don't want help, and yet they're the most happiest person on the line.
That's true. And can attest to that because it's extremely liberating.
I think it's the way that we perceive things, the way that we look at things, you know. We look at more fundamental things, whether it's a want, it's not a need.
But there's some, I will admit, there's some that, like, we have a lot of homeless vets. We have a fuck ton of homeless veterans in this country. They shouldn't be homeless. They shouldn't be homeless.
You've been to Vancouver before, haven't you? You've been to Vancouver.
Yeah.
There's a part in Vancouver, downtown Vancouver. There was an old wool shed manufacturing plant that's been shut down now, but it was an old wool manufacturing thing where they making things out of wool. They were protesting for homeless shelters, but they were actually homeless people on that side, underneath at the front of this old workshop. On the other side of the road, and it goes for freaking miles, just one side of the street, you can get any drug you want. So you've got the homeless people on one side, the drug addicts on the other side. I walked down both sides of went down one side and came across the road and went up the other side. I will say this, not all homeless people are drug addicts.
No, absolutely not.
And here's a problem, especially here in Australia. Most people look down on homeless people because they think they're an alcoholic, drug addict, or a bum. What about if they lose their job? They can't afford the mortgage. They can't afford their car payments. They don't have money. They can't get welfare because they've lost a job and they've got to live off the redundancies before they can get on a welfare. They lose their house. They lose their job. They lose their car. They're homeless. They're not drug addicts or alcoholics. And most people prefer to live on the streets. Some of them.
I'd rather live on the street than stay at a shelter.
Yep.
I'll tell you that, because shelters are dirty.
Yep. But in Melbourne, they are fining homeless people $1,300 for sleeping on the streets. That's not enough. They want to move. Like we got the tennis we got the Australian Open tennis championships here in Australia at the moment. The week leading up to that tournament, and it's still going on, but the week leading up to that tournament, they cleared out the homeless people from the city.
Yeah, they do that here too.
My question was, where are they moving them to? Because there's no shelters.
To a camp homeless somewhere, my friend. To a camp.
Yeah. Where are they moving them to?
They do here.
Mm-hmm.
To some camp outside of the city that they've already built. And you may or may not hear from that person ever again.
Exactly. I mean, we will take them refugees from asylum seekers and put them into the old army barracks, or even on the army barracks, and they're just living like anything. You never believe. They were seeking asylum after they were a refugee, like the boat people from Indonesia, and they were loading up in the Middle East, not just Indonesia, but the
Middle East.
Yeah. We get them from Indonesia too. We get boat people from Indonesia, but majority of them are from the Middle East. They seek asylum, so therefore they become asylum seekers. They get transported into these accommodation shelters at army barracks, and they've got cable TV, they've got a bed to sleep in, they've got everything you can name for, and yet a homeless person can't even get a shelter because there's none of them there.
Right, and those are people in your own country.
Yep.
And I believe we should take care of the people in our own country before we allow people from other countries to come and reap the benefits of what everyone else has worked for.
Well, they were thinking about bringing in sort of 500,000 immigrants, Muslims, or these Syrians, refugees, to Australia, 500,000 of them.
Yeah.
Where are we going to put them? Accommodation? What about the homeless people? And that's not just here, it's in America as well. You guys, well, I know Donald Trump wants to fix that up, but the theory that Obama and Clinton want, they were going to bring in thousands of refugees. What about the homeless people?
Right. Why don't we take care of our own first?
Maybe Trump will build more homeless shelters now with him power. Maybe. I love him to do it.
Well, at least expand the food bank program and whatnot like that, because I used to volunteer at a food bank, and that was my full-time job. I volunteered at the food bank. I didn't make any money, but for every hour that I worked, the food bank got $10. So all the money that I would have received went to the food bank. And I worked 40, 50 hours a week. So so they made $500 or, you know, whatever. And that went to buy food to hand out to our homeless. And that's what I did every day. And you wouldn't imagine how many homeless people there are in a town of 50,000, you know?
Well, just look at the state of Nevada, especially in Las Vegas. You know, a lot of homeless people in Las Vegas right now that live underneath the city of Las Vegas.
And it's not even people, just homeless people, you know?
No.
They're not the only ones going without. There's people who have full-time jobs, who work really hard, that are barely being able to pay their bills. So food isn't really an option.
No. And to save money, the best way for them is to sleep as a slumber, basically, out on the streets. You know? I mean, we can do that here in Australia. We can live out in the outback if we really want to. We've got the food there. We just got to hunt for it. We got that, but I wouldn't recommend it. But you can do it if you really want to. You can do it.
Right.
You know, I mean, but I do understand that there's a lot of things that need to be changed. It's like radical thinking, radical change, but they do got to be patient. Patience does wear off. And let's hope the files do get released. I mean, there's so much common knowledge that people have put in, and most of them made up their own mind of what they believe in.
And they're going to. People are going to do that.
Yeah. And the thing is, the question that I want to ask, would it matter if the files get released or not? What will it prove?
What will it change? What will it change? That's the whole point. Is it going to change how the government works? Probably not.
Well, I look at both sides of the story there, Damien. I think it can change in a certain way. That people can start believing who they elect into Parliament more. You know, that will be the change. They can start believing and put their trust in. I mean, I don't like putting trust in other people. I like to believe in people. I like more to believe in the people that they're going to work for me, not the other way around.
Right.
You know, I elect that person, so therefore they're going to work for me. For the people.
And that's what government is supposed to do. They're supposed to be representatives of the people, and that's not what we have anymore in any of our countries. They don't work for the people the way they're supposed to work for the people. They push their own agendas, their own ideas, and their own beliefs on the people.
And they always go on their own policies, and most of them are false policies and that. And like we said last night, if they leave the policies out of it, and just stick to common sense, common ground, and they'll get on a lot better. But the thing is, everyone wants a piece of the pie. They want to know what. You can't have your 70% when I get 30%. I'm talking about Democrat versus Republic here.
Right.
You know? The Democrats want exactly the same as what the Republican does. And it has been the other way around. The Republicans want the same as the Democrat. But take the policies out of it. You all got the same agenda. You want to lead the country that the people will choose. You know, if they just stick to common sense, common ground, yes, you can debate, but bring it with a clear mind.
But that's not what they do. They all
we know that.
They all take payoffs to push someone else's agenda. They all give themselves raises without doing a damn thing. And while they do all that, while they're getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars between all of them, hundreds of millions of dollars a year, the people get fucked.
Yeah. Well, politics always been like the WWE.
Who's paying their salaries? We're paying their salaries. And while they're getting while they're getting paid in their job, they're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. On top of that, they're getting kickbacks from corporations like banks and pharmaceutical companies and things like that to pass bills. And see, they're not working for the people. They're working for the large corporations that push the agendas onto the country.
Of course. And the thing is, they get a pension when they retire too.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we've got people here in Australia that in our parliament now that are going on luxury airfares and it taxpayers' money. They're going on to luxury resorts and that on taxpayers' money. I've questioned an MP before, and a lot of people have too, that if they live on the same wage as the welfare system, and it will get them to really understand how much people do struggle from week to week. You know, on a minimum income of $500 a week. You know, once you pay your bills, you're left with probably $40 to $30, if that, to get food, and that will be it.
Right.
So if I did say this to some of the MPs, I was like, if you guys start living the way the underprivileged people live, it will open up.
Not even the underprivileged, just the norm.
Yep.
That's the norm in this country.
Well, back in the 90s, Damien, $500 a week was a good amount of money. Now, pocket money.
Right.
I just heard a vibration going on. Look like someone texting you.
Yep, probably. I got.
What am I doing?
A lot.
Get Jamie off. Okay, I'll get off.
Say what?
Probably Robbie D. Say, get that Aussie brick off.
Nope, I didn't get what. One was on my phone. It was on my phone. Oh, that was on. Okay, that's what it was. Just a YouTube notification.
Oh, someone messaging. Yeah, I get that with Alex Jones and Laurie's channel and Eric Spitfire. And I get all the notifications because I'm subscribed to all the channels. And anytime any new video goes up, I get the notifications. Alex Jones, the worst. He puts up like hundreds of videos a day, and within 5-10 minutes, he's already uploaded like 3 or 4 videos. It's just like upload, new upload, new upload, new upload.
Right. He should just do live shit.
Yeah. So.
And he goes off. I mean, he's gonna have a heart attack one of these days, because he is just
Do you think he was drunk at DC over the weekend?
I think everyone was drunk in DC.
I really think he was.
Good
He's like,
morning, Lori. Welcome back.
Getting an over the road trucker out of the house is not an easy task.
no, it's not. It's not, especially when it comes to a male.
God,
Well, you know, he's got
more stuff on that truck. Huh?
I said he's got to pack a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he does. He packs a lot of stuff. So, and he's been off for 3 weeks.
Does he have a nice big sleeper? Good.
So,
Well,
and
this is
we're
like
actually thinking. What's that?
It's like me, Laurie. When I got to go out and do something with my partner, I have a shower first. I get dressed, but I've got to get her to find my shirt, find my pants, tie my hair back. She hasn't.
Yes. Oh my God. That's so funny.
She hasn't even got.
He's like, I need you upstairs. I run upstairs. He's like, can you grab me? Because he's got long hair too. He says, I need a hair tie. I need you to give me a ponytail. And can you help me with my belt?
Yep. And she's got to get herself ready. And I'm saying, hurry up, we're late. Hurry up, we're late. And she's not even got herself ready because most of the time it's all on me.
Oh no, yeah, that's the same. I have to get her clothes. I have to find everything for her because she knows where nothing is.
And then when we single, Damien, we can get ready within 5 minutes and we're out the door.
No problem. I'm done.
As soon as we get a partner, we want to get massaged. We want to get tampered. We want them to tie our hair back, find our shirt, find our shoes.
Fuck that. It would take I would never get out of the house if she found my shit. And my stuff is right where it should be almost all the time. The only thing, I had a problem finding a belt the other day. I'm like, where in the fuck is my belt? Like, and it was buried under my clothes. So.
That's funny.
Well, here's another funny.
Yeah.
Here's another. Here's another
he's
funny.
Been off for 3.
Yeah. Here's another funny story on patience. When I take my partner clothes shopping, it takes freaking hours. I go in with her and I said, oh, that's a nice dress. Try that on. 5 minutes she's walking out the door with that dress I just picked up. She's got to try on every single dress to make sure it fits properly. When it comes to shoes, forget about that. I said, just pick that one. When I'm buying shoes for myself, I know exactly what I want, where I want. I said, that'll do, $15, I'm out the door. She's got to try on 5 different pairs of shoes before she makes a decision. So,
yeah, because they're indecisive. That's why you just pick out their outfit, and then they say, do I look nice? And you say, yes, let's go.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's go. And then we expect them to get us ready, and then when we get ready, we say, hurry up, we're running late, Yeah, I spent freaking an hour and a half getting you ready.
And she has tremors in her hands. Her hands have tremors. And so I even paint her nails for her, you know?
Oh, nice.
Well, that's what it comes back to with Donald Trump. How many people will he order around just to get himself ready for work? I mean, we're talking about
he's going to have
having a discussion with people on Facebook right now because there's a picture going around that shows Donald Trump walking through a door. It's from the back.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yes.
Donald Trump walking through the door, and and then there's
Barack and Melania.
There's Michelle, and then there's Melania, and then there's Barack on the right. And people are saying, look, you could tell a man by how he treats his wife. And it's pissing me off for one reason, and that is the fact that what we're seeing in that picture is the utmost respect for a president.
Sure. He's the
I
president.
mean, they
He gets to
they
go
allow
through the door
president to
first.
walk ahead of them out of respect. I mean, what did they want them to do? Cram them both through the door at once?
That's not going to happen.
Not gonna
No.
happen.
If the queen was there, she would have gone first. If Putin was there, he would have gone first. It's called respect, people.
Yep.
And they're having a problem with this. Another thing is, Trump he did a Twitter yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And he spelled the word honor wrong. He spelled it Honer instead of OR. And he immediately pulled it and redid it and reposted it. But now people are like, oh, look, he can't even spell honor. He's illiterate. Are you kidding me?
Oh, you're fucking joking me? Half of the people that are bitching about that can't spell worth a fuck.
Use no punctuation, don't capitalize when they're supposed to capitalize, and
Hey,
they're
you
going to
know
say
what?
because he made a mistake.
I am not a
God.
fucking writer. I can speak, I can spell, and all that. Do I give a shit if I capitalize a fucking word? No. You know why? Because no one cares.
Well, here's
No
the
one
thing.
cares.
Yeah, well, here's the
Don't
thing.
care.
There's so many different ways you can spell a word. The English version, the American version, and the Australian version.
Sure.
Honor, I spell it with
H-O-N-O-U-R, H-O-N-O-R,
Right.
No,
Oh, you are right.
N-O-R-E.
I spell honor with H-O-N-O-U-R.
Yeah,
Honor.
that's the English. That's the old English way of spelling honor.
Yeah.
Right.
Or favorite.
Yeah.
Or-
Savior.
or
Savior's
favorite.
the same way. A lot. You'll see it spelled with a U a lot. I mean, people are just freaking. I'm sorry. This is not my country anymore. I don't even recognize what I'm seeing.
Well, Laurie, can I ask you a personal question? Well, it's not really personal, but it's just a general question.
Absolutely.
When you go out with David to a restaurant, does he open the door for you?
Oh, absolutely, he does.
Yep. Does he pull
He'll
the chair out?
actually yell at me.
Yep.
I go to
Does he-
touch the. He'll say, "Don't you touch that."
Yep, I'm the same way.
Yep. Does he pull the chair out for you at the table to make sure that you're in the right chair?
No,
I
no,
do.
he doesn't.
I do that.
And here's the thing: is he doesn't do that, and he doesn't. Will unlock my car door, but he won't open it for me.
I was brought up with my grandfather way that the women got to be respected no matter what, right? I'm not going on by Donald Trump, but it's respect we're talking about here. If an old lady comes off a bus or a train, I let them out first. They give me sometimes the weirdest look. It's like, you're not supposed to do that for me. No, why are you doing this for me? You know? It's because I'm showing respect. I can wait my turn. You can go forward. You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
When I take my partner out, I hold her hand getting out of the car. I hold her hand going into a door. I do everything for her because it's my respect for her. I pull the chair out for her. You can sit down.
That's what we're
But
supposed to do.
Well, she's got my credit card. I don't have to touch it. She can spend all she wants. I know where the money's going. Going on bills, it's going on everything. I know what gets spent. The thing is, I don't have a wallet. She has all my ID on her. I don't hold it. I know where she is.
I know where she is. I know where you are.
Good
Robbie.
evening, guys.
Robbie.
I thought
Robbie,
I'd come across your party. Yes.
Robbie, this is the
Robbie.
first time. Robbie, this is the first time you and I actually had a talk.
Yes.
You guys are coming to Australia for cricket this summer. We're going to kick your butt this year. We're going to kick your butt. You beat us last year, 2 years ago over there. We're going to kick
Oh.
your butt this time, right? We're gonna
Oh,
kick
well.
your butt. But
Yeah,
here's
you reckon?
something you like, Robbie. Here's something. There you go, Robbie. Vegemite. Get some of that in you.
Oh no, I've got Cantonese chicken on the stove, man.
Ah.
I don't think that would go well with it, but thanks for the offer anyway. Yeah,
No,
we
you
are
stick.
coming to.
No. You stick to your scones and your tea. You'll be fine.
Yeah, to do put
Dinner
the kettle
time
on
is
actually. Dinner time.
I'm only joking. I love England. I've got relatives in England and Scotland, and whatnot.
Yeah,
But well,
it's all right. It's all right.
yeah,
It's all right.
well,
It's not too bad.
we won't talk about cricket. I won't talk about soccer. So it's all good.
That's all right.
But
Man.
what we've been discussing, Laurie caught the start of it, and I had technical difficulties. Someone was playing up with my moderation sound. I was hearing myself and it echoing through the channel, and we had to stop it, and I rebooted and whatnot. Last night, Damien and I was on YouTube for over 6 hours, just talking a lot of things. Apparently, they cut out 4 hours of our discussion and put the last 2 hours of it. We were talking about the JFK and 9/11. My partner and I have been investigating over the last couple of weeks about these files.
Yeah.
These files that can be released this year from Donald Trump. I'll just read out just a little bit what we've been talking about. Back in April last year, on the 2nd, the government gave a first peek at what was still out there as the National Archives released a list of 3,063 documents that fully been withheld since the assassination of JFK. Now, the act was signed off by George Bush Sr. in 92 for the Assassination Review Board. And that act requires that all documents on the list, which is the 3,000 documents, be released by October 2017, unless Donald Trump, which is the next president, decides to keep them classified. The question is, will he do it? If he wants to do 9/11, if he's been talking about 9/11 in the presidential nomination debate, will he do it?
You see, duties depends on NLP handlers, the of the highest Masonic order. Just breaking now. Trump's just actually asked James Comey, head director of the FBI, to keep his job. Oh, strange turn of events there, don't you think? At the end of the day, listen, we're never, ever, ever, ever going to get the full picture on the weakness. We know what's what, but the world is never, ever going to get the full picture of either JFK or 9/11 because it's not in the interest of the cabal to do that. They will release something or whatever, because you got to understand is, right, that we are living in a giant game, right? They're all, if you watch the inauguration, right? In fact, I'm just uploading a video from Black Child. He's done some in-depth, little bit of analysis of the inauguration and all the players and whatnot, yeah? And you got to understand, these people are all in it together. The left, the right, the up, the down, the front, the back, all the little players behind the scene. They're all part of this satanic Luciferian cabal, right? What you see in public, what they show you in public is just the public side, the PR side, we're normal kind of side, yeah? But behind closed doors, right, they are part of the agenda. So they are, as far as 9/11 is, you're going to be waiting a long time for the real truth to come out, because by then something else even bigger is going to happen, and they're going to be covering that up. It's everything's moving along, not shuffling nicely as far as they're concerned, right? But you got to remember, they're not the main players, right? The people behind the scenes. You got several levels. Obviously you got your 13 bloodline families that are running the operations and giving out the directions and orders of the agenda, but there's obviously somebody above them as well, behind the scenes as well. You know, we're not talking about, you know, the Pope or the Black Pope, because there's somebody above them as well. You know, there's always the hidden hand, right? So as far as 9/11 and JFK is concerned, they're going to keep people and they're going to keep truthers running around in circles. We know the truth, right? Because of the intensive investigations that many people in the truth community over the last 4 or 5 decades have done, right? But they will never, ever, ever give us that one bone, right? They'll always give us a little bit of scraps, but they'll never give us the main thing, because it's not in their interests.
Exactly.
You know?
I truly believe this also, that the reason why the left and the libtards are in such an outrage, not only because they're protesting what they've been protesting, it's because of this 9/11 report that Donald Trump wants to do, and what I've mentioned about the files being released in October. I think that in itself scares the crap out of them, and it causes an outrage, because Donald Trump is not a political person. He knows about 9/11. He knows a terrible lot about 9/11. He knows how he knows how corrupt the Bush family is. He knows how corrupt the Clintons were. So if he does decide to do this, they're running scared. And not only that, if Hillary Clinton would have won the president, none of this will ever happen. None of this.
You got to understand all these people, right? They're all related. They're related by bloods. They're related by bloodlines. They, as I said, they are putting on the public face. The public face is that, oh no, what is he doing? What is he doing? Really, right? Behind closed doors, in the Masonic temples, in the lodges and whatnot, and wherever they do their cabal meetings, they've already had the agenda set out. All this that's going on right now, right, was more than likely discussed at Bilderberg this and the year before, right, in great detail over 3 days, right. This is the steps that we're taking. This is the reaction. This is the blah, blah, you know. They have basically they work to a script for the main agenda, right. The agenda's already been set many years ago, right. So what's happening now would have probably been put down on paper maybe 20, 30 years ago, right? And that includes every single day and every single month and every year from maybe 3 years ago to the next 3 years, and so on and so forth, right? So basically, we're living in an illusion that they're setting, right? You know, so all this nonsense with fake news, right? Give that an example, right? That was already decided a long time ago, right? What they need to do.
Well, if you have to believe, if you want to believe the technological side of things, they have a supercomputer that they put in scenarios and it pops out. That's how they know. That's what Jade Helm was about. It was about putting the information into this AI supercomputer that pretty much knows in advance and predetermines how we are going to react to a situation, and they can manipulate everything through that. So
yeah, well, it's like it's a more advanced form of NLP, kinetic manipulation. It's kind of
like if you know anything about Casey and the Akashian records, it's kind of like that. Everything is like connected through this AI computer.
Well, and we were talking about Agenda 21 earlier, and in order for Agenda 21 to pass through the way that they want it to, there has to be civil unrest.
Absolutely, there does. They have to have order out of chaos. The Hegelian dialectic.
Right.
There's another agenda. There's another agenda. There's another agenda that no one's talking about as well. Obviously, they have to set the conditions and they have to set the tone and they have to change the tone. One of the tones that they're going to set is the death penalty, right? they're going to make the death penalty sound quite appealing, right? Now they're going to do it for paedophiles first. Oh yeah, paedophiles need the death penalty, which they in reality they should. Right?
Absolutely, they should.
Right? Yeah. But then it's going to start moving on to other areas. Yeah, as they move the agenda forward, right? Other certain fringe groups and other groups that they are deemed terrorists or
And that's where Sharia law will come into play, because you know the death penalty, the penalty of death is pretty much right across the board for anything that's not Sharia.
Yeah, I mean, they'll gradually they'll move.
Well,
sorry,
I'm afraid that's not going to happen. I'm not accepting Sharia law.
No, but it won't come in the form of Sharia law. It will come in some
Right. What I'm
another
saying,
form.
I'm not saying that they're going to label it Sharia. I mean, if you guys know about the Noahide laws, because those will come into play also.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of things like that are. I mean, it's not just one agenda; it's all of them combined, leading into you know.
Well, going back on capital punishment, which is the death penalty. As you know, we don't have the death penalty here in Australia. We used to.
Yeah.
We don't anymore. But with the incident just occurred when that guy ran over the people in Melbourne, there's been an outpour cry to bring back the death penalty because of that event. Now we had the Port Arthur massacre, which took our guns away, right? Would they take our cars away now because a lunatic just driven over civilians?
Well,
because here in Australia, there's always been a knee-jerk reaction. If someone's a lunatic, we're going to take something away from you. But besides the point, there's been an absolute outpour cry to bring back the capital punishment just because of a sole event like that happened. But we had so many other events in the years since the capital punishment been away from Australia. We had the backpacker murders, Ivan Milat. We had Port Arthur. We had the Father's Day massacre, which was the two outlaw motorcycle gangs. There's been so much events happening in Australia, but this is the thing that to say it wasn't a terrorist. This is what's been coming out in the media here. It wasn't a terrorist. He was mentally disturbed. He's a drug addict, and he was known by the police. Well, what they're not telling the community is he was calling out Allah Akbar. Before the event on his social media, he was praising Islam under Allah, and he was basically mentally unstable because, as we know, radical Islam is a mental illness.
Yeah. Well, that's the narrative that they want to give you. They want to give you the narrative. It's like watching the Running Man. Remember the Running Man? You remember how they were manipulating the propaganda? So all these events that you just talked about, that's happened in the past. There's a very high probability that they all got Masonic connections to it, just like all the false flag events that happen in the United States and around the world, right? So a perfect example is 9/11 itself. On the exact hour that it happened, within 20 minutes of the second plane hitting the tower, they were already telling us that they knew who it was, saying it was Osama bin Laden. Now, one of the guys that was actually connected to the towers, I can't remember his name now, but there was a guy, Israeli ambassador, right? He was on the BBC News, literally as it was happening, telling you that it was Al Qaeda and that it was Osama bin Laden. Now, didn't people at the time think that was a bit strange that they already knew within 20 minutes that they'd already got a suspect? Right, this is how they do it. They put it out there now. You know, they're calling for an outrage now, saying, "Yeah, bring back the death penalty for whatever the guy who done the thing." And they said he's this, and this, and this. There's a guarantee that there was nobody in
America. They're trying to do away with the death penalty because they botch it so bad every time.
Yeah, but they just had a Milton Marty just put it me up. You know, everything. Remember, you've got to be objective about the agendas, right? if you hear it on the news, if they talk about it, or if they put it in a newspaper, there's a guarantee that it's a fake alternative view event that they've put forward. Guaranteed that it's come from the CIA first, the media, because they need to plant the seed. Right now, the perfect example was the day after the inauguration. We had what, 250,000 people, women, so feminists, right, doing our outrage. They got Madonna saying, "Oh, I want to blow up the White House" and whatnot. Nobody in the truth community is talking about the fact they're getting in their emotions, going, "Oh, she needs to be arrested." Yeah, but nobody's talking about the fact that she's a Kabbalist. Yeah, she's a tool of the elite, and every other personality and actor and anybody out there were all paid by George Soros to do that deed, right? You know what I mean? It's just like, you got to remove yourself from the picture and look from the outside in. Everybody at the moment in the last couple of days has been running on emotion. Oh, libtards this and oh, Trump this or whatnot. They don't. It's all of a sudden. It seems like it seems to have lost its mind, and it seems to have forgotten about all the hard work that it's put in over the last 5-10 years, explaining about this Luciferian agenda. It didn't suddenly stop and everybody decided to do their own thing, right? This is still the pre-planned event, right? Just remember, we're still heading towards the New World Order, and Trump is just another component of it.
But how do you find a common ground in that, Robbie? Because if you, we know that there's a lot of fighting going on. Families have been separated because one person's on the other side of the fence or so forth. But how do you find a common ground? Yes, you can debate. There's no questions out there. But where do you draw the line in the sand when enough is enough? Where do you find the common ground? How do you find the common ground? Do people want to find a common ground? Because as soon as you mention something they don't agree with, you're a racist, you're a monogamous, you're all this, you're all that. So how do people find a common ground? Where can you unite? Where can you bring the love? Where can you bring the unity that people have been talking about for years? Because 30 years ago, we were all getting along. Now since 9/11 happened, we've got to blame the Muslim for everything that happened around the world. And let me tell you, 9 times out of 10, they're not even a Muslim, and we all, most of us are painting with the same brush on all the Muslim community. Now there are some radicals, but you don't have to be facilitated with any religious group or any group at all. You can be anyone. If you've got the mentality to hurt people, to cause terror or chaos, they will do it. They'll do it. But it's just a norm since 9/11. We start picking and finger pointing a certain religion just because. What?
Well, if you tell the world, right, that Islam is a tool of the New World Order, and Islam was actually created by the Roman Catholic Church, no one's going to believe you, right? Because nobody wants to do any research. Nobody wants to look beyond their own stupidness, really. People just live in a little bubble and they believe everything that goes on in the media. Because they have a personal relationship with their news anchors and their people that read the news and whatnot. The TV is their best friend, right? They're not going to believe anything different because the television, the mind control program has been set up purely for that reason, right? It is to condition people ready for the New World Order, right? So they ain't going to believe anything. Oh, you crazy conspiracy theorist, or you nut job, tin for a hat wearing nut job. No. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we know that we're pretty, there's some sanity with us. At the end of the day, we've done the research, right? They ain't going to believe it, but they're going to believe anything that the news tell them because they don't know anything else, and it is a shame. As I said, Islam is a tool of the New World Order, and when the objectives have been reached to whichever point, then Islam will be done away with like all the other religions. They'll be put into the little box of the one world religion. you know, it's very. I'm very concerned for them. I mean, I don't follow Islam. You know, I'm a Torah. I'm you know, I follow with the Hebrew Israelites and whatnot. You know, but once you see it, yeah, you know, you don't see the world in the same way that that everybody else does. So you have to spend your time trying to explain the mechanics of how it got to that point. Yeah, who put it to that point, and who benefits from it greatly, you know. And I do feel every time I see this event, oh, this Islamic terrorist done this or ISIS did that, all I see is Mossad, CIA, MI6, Saudi Arabia, and all the other confederacies of the nations that are all together pulling off the biggest hoax in the 21st century that anyone has ever seen. Yeah, and it is such a shame. It is such a shame that people don't see it. I mean, millions of people are waking up every day, but it's not going to be enough, right? There isn't enough time in the world for people to do the level of research that we've done to be able to make an objective analysis to say, look, it is not what you think it is, right? You do need to step outside of your prejudices, and you need to take a fresh look at the world and understand that there is a hidden hand behind all this, right? You know, they put it in your movies, right? They tell you lies in the news, truth in your movies, right? And people still can't see it, and they won't see it because there is one major objective that they're trying to get to in the New World Order objective, and that is the eventual worship of Lucifer. There's no getting around it. That is their main goal, you know. And to do that, they're going to pull off all these hoaxes, and they are also going to out all the Satanists, yeah, because we live in a world of duality, right? You know, just like Star Wars, right? You know, the Sith and the Jedi, right? You got two opposing sides of the coin, yeah. You know, that is how the world works, right? According to the world system that they've set up, you know, left and right paradigm, black and white. It's the classic Masonic doctrine, and people won't see it because they don't believe half of the stuff that they're being shown. And it's like, well, okay, well, you need to hurry up and wake up.
They believe half of what they're being shown, but they're not believing the right half.
No, exactly.
No. Yeah.
No. And there is a time, right? I mean, according to the Bible, right, there's a time of grace, right? Grace is going to be done soon, right? It has a time limit. Once it's done, right, everyone's on their own. Everybody is on their own, and I wish them the best of luck, because this is going to be a ride, man. This is going to be a ride that no one has ever been on before.
Well, I mean, Robbie, I've been a mission worker myself. I've been to Canada on a mission trip and whatnot. I pulled away from a lot of churches due to the thing is that we had to be forced to tell people that you better hurry up because God's coming soon. This was before 2000, before the new millennium. The Bible says that you don't know what time or day he may come. Might come. He's like a thief in the night. You just don't know. Then we had about 4 years ago that this massive thing was supposed to end the world. This massive astronaut was supposed to end the world, and it didn't happen.
No.
And that's why people, many, I'm not saying myself, but I'm saying most of the community are turning away from God or don't even believe in God because with religious people, I'm guilty for this because I used to be evangelizing out on the street, blowing my trumpet, saying, you must repent for God because he's coming soon and that. And it was false prophecy. We're prophesizing something that we won't. And the Bible says don't stand on the rooftop and blow your trumpet.
No.
You know?
No.
My church is my heart. My house is my church. I follow God. But my partner is a pagan. And, you know, she was brought up in an Anglican family, but she didn't like the principles. She wanted to be her independent person. but she's a pagan most of the time. But she does have Christian beliefs in her mindset, in her heart.
Yeah.
And that. But
the thing is, right? What people do, this is another level that I've discovered over time. Christianity is the deception as well, right?
it is.
Christianity was created, right, by the Roman Catholic Church, right? The Messiah, right, the true Messiah, not this Cesare Borgia character that they've created, right, this Jesus character. The true Messiah, right, and the will of his Father, right, under the will of his Father, didn't come to create a religion, right? There were no Christians in the Bible. The Bible's been manipulated, right, to include this false doctrine. I mean, it was the Roman Empire that's done this, yeah. Not saying that the Bible isn't correct. The Bible has been manipulated. Names have been changed. Words have been manipulated. You know, translations have been added to add confusion. A lot of people are going to suffer because of this, because they will not do the research and realize that the original Hebrew text, I mean, obviously the lion pen of the scribes don't help matters as well, but you know, there is a deeper truth to the word of the Most High than what is being presented, and a lot of lies have been put forth through Christianity, right, to confuse the issue. I mean, we've had the last 2,000 years or more basically having a religion that was created by Satanists to destroy the actual word of the Most High. And it is a shame, really, that people, as I said, won't do the research and understand, right? I mean, for instance, the law was never done away with, right?
Yeah.
It was always there.
I was part of, I mean, I've been to so many churches. I've been to Salvation Army. I've been to Anglican. I've been to Pentecost. I've been to Catholic. Hell, I've even went to the Hill Church here in Australia, which is a Pentecostal realm. I've done
Hillsong.
Hillsong. He's a corrupt. That was the camel that broke. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for me in the Pentecostal realm.
Yep.
That they are making multi-million dollars it's a corporation in itself.
Well, of course it is. It's a 501c3.
Yep.
There you
and
go.
I saw a lot of things behind the scenes because I was pretty close to the pastors and that, and I saw a lot of things. They are so hypocritical, and it's like a wolf with sheep clothing. That it's unbelievable. It's true. What's been reported about the Hillsong Church, it's true. They are they are corrupt. I mean, when the new Commodore came out around about 2002, when they brought the fluoride Commodores and the Ford Falcon, there were the Kermit the Frog green and a baby poo brown. All the pastors got a brand new $30,000 to $40,000 vehicle. Everyone in the church that was a pastor or a leader in the church. And I'm going around, I'm saying, is this what God really wants? He said, what do you mean? I'm saying, this is a money-making machine.
Of course it is.
I said, the Bible says don't be lovers of money, but yet look at this.
But that's all right, because they got their reward. They got their reward. Listen, I'm going to bug out a minute. I'm going to be back.
Yeah, I've got to get going, basically, because I've got really big things to do. And that,
all right, well, we'll catch up again.
Yeah,
we will.
Their Independence Day.
Yeah.
Yes, they will. They're going to have it. I like you were in Venice there, my friends. It's looking good there, Damien. All right, I'll catch you later, guys.
Yeah, good.
All right.
Damien, thank you so much. I've got to really get going, man. I was supposed to get off about an hour ago, but Robbie came on, Laurie came back on. It's good. But I've got to really cut the stop button now because my partner's jumping down and saying I've got to get off. So it's so good.
Right. I think Laurie's going to come back too. So
yeah. Well, you can still talk, but this was a two-parter tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably going to have to go soon anyway. Brandy's going to have to go to work soon, so I have to give up the computer. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I would just keep going.
All right, man. You take care. Look after yourself. Anytime you need me, just send me a message.
No worries.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. And hope what we talked about makes sense. Make you think. But take care of one another.
Happy Australia Day.
Yeah, that tomorrow, not today. Tomorrow.
Oh yeah. It's in the morning.
Yeah, 4:20, 4:42 here Wednesday. So tomorrow. So,
Have a good day.
Yuri. Yuri.
So that's what we have for all that. I guess I'll give Lori a minute to see if she's going to come on, and if not, I'm going to go ahead and end the show for today, and I'll more than likely be doing this more regularly in the mornings, simply because we don't have any morning shows in our circle, and I think it's pertinent for us to be able to have places to go and talk and relay information and talk about things that aren't talked about very often. So here I am, and this is what we do. And we got Jeff Sentinel Hayes and Eric Spitfire. We have Lori Alexander on her show, Robbie D, and he's on Exposing Satanic World Government. Also on Facebook on Exposing Satanic World Government, and so this is our group of people, and they all do really great work. So I guess get out of here, and I'll see y'all later. Have a good day.